What's up, creeps, and welcome to the first episode of the Epic Film Guys podcast of 2024. We hope you all had a happy new year. I'm Justin.
I am Jeremy, and I keep writing 2023 on everything I need a date on. I need to get with it. We're in 2024, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
And I'm Be Ready.
Yes.
I don't know why I said it like that.
We're glad to
Where's your enthusiasm?
We're glad to have you here, Brady.
I left it in 2023.
I mean, we're in a new year. You were actually, we got to see you for
we had some
the
wings.
holiday season. Had some wings.
Oh, those wings are so good. Like, I dream about them now.
Well, it seems like you forgot how good they were because we've been there before, Jeremy.
I know, dude.
Those mozzarella sticks were pretty
Bro,
good, too.
those two? Like, this time, man, I was like, oh, fuck, this food is unbelievable, man. And I won't forget that again, because I did forget. But I won't forget again.
It's been a couple years. I think the last time we all got together, and ladies and gentlemen, we've talked about this location on the show before. It's Jimmy's Old Town Tavern in Herndon, Virginia, right down the street from where I used to live just a year and a half ago. Used to be me and Brady's weekly spot where we went and had some drinks and ate some wings and talked movie talk and shit. And this was before he was on the show. We were just pals and all that stuff. But yeah, we got together there. It was fucking fun. Had some awesome wings, and you probably saw on our social media we posted a photograph behind the bar. It was not our idea at all to hold the booze, but Gizmo, the bartender, was like, what the fuck? He was like, might as well lift up the bottles or some shit. I don't even know.
Dude, the funniest...
He was like, go on back behind the bar. We were like, what? We thought he was going to go behind the bar and take the picture of us, and he's like, no, get back there, man. We were like, oh, okay.
The funniest shit is that, so I don't drink, and so I ordered a soda water with a lime, and I looked over right as he had gotten done with it, and I could see like wheels turning in his head. He was like, I don't know if I put vodka in this, man. And I was like, okay, that's cool, man. And he was like, are you like super sober? I was like, I mean, dude, I'm not gonna like take a sip of it, and if there's vodka in it, like go on a bender or anything like that, bro. If there's vodka in it, like I'll just give it back to you, for you to make me just like a regular soda water. And he was like, so he like he tested it himself. He's like, nah, man, there's no vodka in there. I'm like, all right, cool. And then next thing I know, we're behind the bar right after he had said like, are you super sober? And I was like, well, I mean, I don't drink alcohol. Next thing he's like, pick up a bottle, man, for the picture. And I'm like, cool. Like, all right, let's do that, I guess.
You went from, I think there might be vodka in your glass, to pick up that bottle of vodka and hold it for a picture.
Dude, I laughed about that later. I was like, that's actually kind of funny. That's really funny.
Yeah. I mean, next thing you know, had we stayed a little bit longer, we would have been fucking slinging drinks at that bitch, though. There wasn't really anyone there except for, there was that old lady that was hitting on Brady. But
yeah, she was feeling my arm up real heavy.
Oh,
she was
my God.
I like this tattoo, and I like this tattoo. And then you guys are fucking sitting there. I'm basically on my own.
Bro.
You guys could have reached over
hell
and
no.
been like, hey, man.
Absolutely not.
Brady, why don't we gotta go here or something? No.
Nope.
No, she's feeling my arm up. She's like, I like this one. Then she was like, you got any more tattoos? I said, yeah, I got some on my leg. And she said, well, I don't want to ask you to pull your pants down.
Bro.
I said, okay.
She wanted to see your legs.
Listen, man. Listen, me and Justin have both been there in our lives where we get cornered by an older lady that's kind of drunk that won't leave us alone.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just your time to have to go through that.
No, I've had my time. You know where my time was? My 21st birthday. There's a bar in Fredericksburg called Spirits, and it's 3 levels. And the top level is like really dark. There's a DJ up there. It's open till like 2 or 3 in the morning. But you go up there and you don't realize it. It's dark. Nobody's on the dance floor. And all of a sudden, it's like these sirens, but they're like 70 years old. They come out of the shadows and they're trying to dance with you and pull you into the dance floor. Yeah. So that was my time when I walked up there years ago and got pulled onto the dance floor. And it was not great.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
This one was fine. I mean, she was nice, but
I'm not gonna lie to you. Me and Justin were like, "Oh, this is amazing." Like this lady was like groping your arm. I was like,
I think she was about to start.
We were loving the shit out of
on
it.
my arm. Yeah.
But ladies and gentlemen, enough of
Bar talk?
old ladies attempting to fornicate with BluBrry. It's 2024, so that means it's time to talk about what's coming out and what we're excited for the year, and that's going to be our top 5 most anticipated horror movies of the year. Super fucking excited about this. I know we talked about it on our best horror movies of 2023 episode, that we felt like it wasn't as good of a year for the genre as the previous year. I'm excited about this year. I don't know about you guys. I think based on the list that I looked at earlier, there's enough there to keep me going throughout the year. But we might as well get started with our list and be ready. You are all, as always, first up with your number 5.
Yeah, wow, what an honor to be the first person to talk about a movie that we're excited about. So yeah, like you were saying,
always go by age, asshole. You know we go by age, okay? Listen,
not
this
my
is not
fucking
like
fault
your
that you're
special
old.
type, all right?
Okay, well, anyways, like I was saying, yeah, I mean, I just at a glance, I figured 2024 was going to be better than 2023. But really deep diving into what to expect, yeah, it's looking like it could be a really fucking good year for movies. So bringing that to my list, my number 5 is a movie called Blackout by Larry Fessenden. Have either of you heard anything about this?
No, but I do love me some Larry Fessenden.
So
Yeah, I saw the name, have not looked much into it.
yeah, so it's a werewolf movie.
Oh, shit.
That follows a tortured artist named Charlie, played by Alex Hurt, whose drinking binges blur with his sneaking suspicion that he is a werewolf. So he begins to distance himself from those he loves, sinking deeper into solitude. All the while, his artwork begins to show memories of his nightmare or nighttime grisly acts. And then, for those who aren't familiar with Fessenden, this, he's big time veteran of indie horror films. But this is going to be the third of his monster movies. So he made a film called Habit, which was about vampires, and then Depraved, which was about Frankenstein, that had a really interesting soldier PTSD spin to it. But it continues this theme of critiquing the monster inside of all people. And then for those who still don't know Fessenden, he is the founder and CEO of Glass Eye Pix, which is the production company that produced tons of films, but most notably, probably on this podcast, are the Ty West's first 4 films. I'm excited for it. I'm a huge fan of werewolf movies, always have been. And I think he's definitely got the eye to kind of understand that duality that comes with a werewolf tale, of that lost control coupled with the regretfulness. And I'm excited because I don't know if you guys have seen Depraved, but some really good fucking practical effects. So excited for my number 5 is Blackout.
Awesome.
Nice. I have a feeling.
Fantastic
I have a
pick.
feeling that won't be the last time in this episode that a werewolf movie gets mentioned. I'll just say that.
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. Pretty
Probably
positive
not.
there.
Yeah. All right, Jerry Bear.
Jeremy, yeah, man. You're up with your number 5.
Maxine, dude.
Mm.
The follow-up to
Damn,
That's coming in
bro.
at your number 5?
Number 5.
Ooh, 5?
Yeah.
Ooh,
Dude,
okay.
I've got some movies I'm looking forward to this year, and I really enjoyed X, really enjoyed Pearl, so I'm excited to see this third installment. The cast for this thing is kind of nuts. All the early reactions, listen, all you have to do to get me excited about a movie is compare it to Dario Argento, and then I'm on
Yep.
board.
Yep.
And the early reviews is that it is a massive homage to Dario Argento's films, and it's super bloody, and I'm really looking forward to it. So Maxine follows Maxine, who was the only survivor of the bloody incidents of X, as she continues her journey towards fame to be an actress in 1980s Los Angeles. So right there alone, too, the fact that it's the 80s, I feel like there's going to be a lot of skeezy Hollywood shit going on in this movie. And I'm really looking forward to it. Mia Goth has proven herself to be an absolute powerhouse. So honestly, anything with Mia Goth in it moving forward is going to be something that I'm going to be anticipating. So I'm really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, great pick, man. I
Fantastic
was, wow,
pick.
shocked that was number 5. Excited
Yeah,
to see
well,
where the rest of it goes.
we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see where else he goes there with that.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's definitely Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey too.
Oh yeah,
That's number one on his list.
Considering all of us saw that and we covered on the show last year. Oh no, it's got to be. The
I never
fucking
watched
Mickey
that
Mouse
one.
slasher movie. It has to be.
I never watched that Winnie the Pooh bullshit.
Yeah, I didn't watch it either. Okay, and we do a show where we typically cover horror. Maybe eventually
We saw the Grinch one
I'll
though.
say that, the image.
Yeah, the mean
We
one.
saw the Grinch one. Yeah, but
Unfortunately.
so my number 5 comes from a horror veteran. You say the name, you know there's 2 iconic movies he's done that are untouchable and probably considered modern classics. Fede Alvarez's untitled Alien movie, or Alien Romulus, which comes out August 16th, which is an alien movie that is set between the events of Alien and Aliens. We don't know much other than the cast. It stars Kaylee Spaney from The Craft Legacy and Pacific Rim Uprising. Did not like either of those movies, but hey, I'll totally give her a shot. All things considered, the one thing we know from Alvarez is that when he chooses his cast members, he utilizes them perfectly. But here, I mean, again, we haven't seen a scary alien movie. I mean, I would dare say personally, even though Alien 3 The Assembly Cut is what it is, but a scary alien movie since Aliens, okay? The first Alien is one of the most terrifying movies ever made, following Jaws in the footsteps of Jaws. But I mean, I hated Covenant. I hated Covenant. I
Really?
like Prometheus for what it was. Yeah, I think Covenant's one of the worst pieces of shit I've ever seen.
Wow.
Yeah, especially considering who it's directed by.
I like Covenant, man. I don't love Covenant, but I like Covenant.
Yeah, I hated it. Absolutely hated it. Him trying to make an alien movie after he totally wanted to go a different direction with Prometheus, and the studio's like, well, why don't you push this more in that direction? And then he was like, I'm going to do that. And then, it's the first alien movie where we saw no practical guy in a suit for a xenomorph. You see it out in the broad daylight. It's not scary at all. And what he's doing technically is just remaking the scenes from Alien in a new movie, and they were not effective at all in the least bit. So, yeah, I did not care for the last few Alien movies, and I loathe the AVP movies. So I trust in Fede Alvarez and really hope that what he brings to the table is going to be terror to the Alien franchise once again. Again, we know from Prey, you give a great director a franchise, let them do something original with it, and we might come out with a new modern classic movie, or at least something that audiences are going to all enjoy. So for me, it is the new Alien movie.
Nice, dude. Great pick.
Number 5.
Number 4 for me is The Strangers Chapter 1. And I'm so excited that we're getting a, I don't know if you want to call it a reboot or whatever you want to call it, but of The Strangers with 3 more films.
Well, technically it's just based on the first movie, right? That's just it's what I read is just, it's based on it, but it's not
loosely based on a similar
in continuation plot. Anyway.
Yeah, so I absolutely loved both 2008's The Strangers, 2018's Strangers Pray at Night. So when this was announced that we were getting 3 more movies by Rennie Harlan, I definitely found a lot of joy in that news. So the plot of Chapter 1 is said to be similar, like Justin said, to the original. It's going to feature a girl named Maya, played by Madeleine Pesch, who travels to the Pacific Northwest with her boyfriend Ryan to begin a new life. But on the way, their car breaks down in Venus, Oregon, and they are forced to spend the night in an isolated Airbnb as 3 masked killers descend on them to wreak havoc. Like I said, Rennie Harlan is attached to all 3 films, which is very exciting. And the 2 sequels are actually reported to have been filmed concurrently with Chapter 1 already. And the overall vision of the trilogy, Harlan said in a Deadline interview, was being an exploration of what happens to a person mentally and physically after being a victim of incredible violence. So
Trauma.
He did say that the movies would then go on to explain this time who the killers are and where they come from, and it's going to follow one central character through all 3 movies instead of how 2008 ended. Obviously, if you've seen that, spoiler alert, like you can't really follow anyone after that. Yep. But yeah, I'm just really excited. We've talked about the 2 movies on this podcast. I think we've talked about Pray at Night more. But it's such a terrifying concept, and the imagery of those masks, just people appearing out of nowhere, is fucking scary. And part of me worries a little bit, that now that he's going to explain where the killers come from and why they're doing it. I don't know how to feel about that, because we've talked about, some of the appeal of the shape of Michael Myers is, there is really no reasoning. It's just evil, right? So you kind of run into some rough territory if you explain too much away.
To be honest with you, that's the reason why the whole first movie works, is because you were home.
There's
that's
no reason.
The only reason. And I get it. You can't do that concurrently and with a bunch of sequels and just do that to different families, because it's literally the same fucking movie. So, you kind of have to do something if you're going to make a franchise out of something with that premise.
And he's also said, he hopes, as every director does, that the third movie is not the end of it. So he said that he's written the third movie and it's been made to create more questions than it answers. So hopefully it kind of goes on from there. But yeah, number 4, The Strangers, Chapter 1.
Nice. The only reason,
great pick, man.
The only reason that I didn't put that on my list is I'm apprehensive over the fact they're like, oh, it's kind of based on the first one. I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that, because the first one was fantastic. I love the second one, Pray at Night. I thought it was fucking...
Pray at Night's fantastic.
Dude, it's the best John Carpenter movie John Carpenter never directed. Like, it was fucking incredible. So when this one coming around, rather than it being like just a pseudo continuation, they're like, oh, it's kind of a soft reboot. And I'm like, God, why do we have to do that, man? I don't understand. We've got 2 stellar movies. Why do you have to go back and fucking reboot it already? Like, I don't fucking get it, man. But we live in a time...
I guess technically, Jeremy, if you look at it this way, if they're not... technically, if they frame it in a certain way where it doesn't have to continue, but it still possibly could.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If they just set it up in a way where it's like... that's why I think it's, like it said in the description, it's like loosely based. So... yeah. I think in your own mind, as long as it doesn't contradict itself in a way where it couldn't exist with those 2 other movies, then I guess fuck it. Yeah. Why not? You know what I mean? Like,
we live in a time where
we'll have to see.
There's a remake of Mean Girls coming out, and I'm like, yo, that's fucking crazy. We're like, weird. We're already getting a straight up shot for shot remake of Mean Girls. Like, that's fucking insane.
Well, it's a musical remake, but
come on, man.
I guess all I'd say about The Strangers Chapter 1 is like, they said it's a loose reboot, but everything I've read about it so far, all that seems to be the same as the 3 Masked Killers, and that it's going to be 2 people stuck in an Airbnb hotel overnight.
I like the setup,
but if you look at if you look at the original one, they weren't in an Airbnb; they were in
their house,
or maybe they were in a house after a wedding.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's really all they're basing it on.
Well,
but who knows?
Yeah, I'm still gonna check it out, and like all things, I hope it's great. But my number 4 is The Seeding, which is about a man who finds himself trapped in a desert canyon with a woman living off the grid who is captive to a pack of sadistic boys. So after I saw the trailer for this, I was like, yep, this is definitely my cup of tea, man. Any horror movie that is people that are stranded in the middle of nowhere in an impossible situation, that's my shit, man. Over the years, I've kind of learned, I'm like, all right, I like cult movies, movies that are about cults. And then it's like, all right, I also really fuck with movies where people are trapped in an awful situation, that goes to, like, remember the Cube movies from back in the day?
Yeah.
It was like the precursor to Saw and shit like that. Like, dude, movies like that where it's like, oh, these people are like just straight up trapped. Like, that's my shit, man.
Dude, this straight up to me sounds like a newer version of The Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah, it kind of feels like that a little bit, and I really dug the trailer. So immediately I was like, yeah, this is something that I'm excited about. So my number 4 is The Seeding, and everybody should check out the trailer for it because it's rad.
Yeah, dude. Just reading about it, like, they described the pack of boys as feral. Like, that's just immediately feral.
Dude, the way you said that word just grossed me out too. Like you said it with such disdain and disgust.
Feral.
Colin
great
Farrell. Will Ferrell.
William Ferrell.
Pharrell Williams.
My number 4 comes from another auteur of the genre, and it's going to be landing on motherfucking Christmas of this year. I'm talking about Robert Eggers' Nosferatu.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, might be a little bit low, but
I was a little surprised, yeah.
At this point, we've seen a couple of stills. We've seen Willem Dafoe. We've seen Nicholas Hoult. We've seen an image where you see the silhouette of the vampire. We have yet to see the actual design. I know that a publication fucked up about a month and a half ago and posted an old picture from one of the older interpretations and claimed that it was from the new movie. And then I sent it to you guys and was like, yeah, it looks like Bill. And I was like, that's not Bill.
Yeah.
So I actually corrected them once I realized I fucked up, and then they fixed it. I think it was comingsoon.net or comicbook.com, one of those publications. But I mean, everything I've seen from Robert Eggers has always impressed me. I look forward to every single thing that he does. So I mean, just listen to the concept of Robert Eggers doing a Nosferatu movie just makes me salivate. German expressionism, and I think it's been a while since we've seen an expressionist horror movie with the use of shadow and darkness, and I think he's the perfect guy for the job. Absolutely. Brady, I don't know if it's on your list or not, but I know for a fact that you're excited for this one.
Oh, so. Very, very excited. I think it's a great pick. Huge Eggers fan. So, yeah, I will say too, just in the vein of all this fake stuff going out, it's so not upsetting, but it's exasperating because I'm so excited just to see something real from this fucking movie. And yeah. I know it's probably going to be a while before we do because it's almost a whole year away. But God, every time something comes out, I have to temper my expectations. Be like, okay, this probably isn't real. And most of the time, you can tell. But yeah, that 3%, it was God damn it, I just want something from it.
Yeah, I mean, I loved The Witch. The Lighthouse was brilliant, and of course, the studio actually sent me to New York City in 2022 to see his film The Northman, and that's also the first time that Epic Film Guys received a pull quote in a trailer. So who knows? Maybe luck will strike twice, and I'll get a pull quote in a fucking trailer for Nosferatu. I'm very excited for it. He's a brilliant director, so there it is, my number 4, Nosferatu.
Top 3 coming up.
So we're already there.
Top 3 has already been mentioned, but it is Ty West's Maxine. Yeah, I mean, Jeremy hit it right on the head, but we all loved X. We all loved Pearl on here. It's no surprise that this is landing on our list, and I'm going to assume maybe Justin's. But, you already wrapped it up. Taking place 5 years after the brutal massacre, Maxine moves to L.A. to pursue dreams of becoming a famous actress, where she stars in a slasher film. It's the 80s, and Hollywood's being terrorized by a serial killer who sets his sights on Maxine and starts picking off her friends and family one by one. It's an homage to Argento and the giallo subgenre, but it's also compared to Fulci's The New York Ripper. There's so much about this that just I had no idea where West was going to go with this third film because, X and Pearl are so vastly different in tone and style. And then just even the stills of this, the color palette and the visuals look so beautiful. I'm ready for Ty West to tackle a film with this subject matter in the 80s because I love what he did with the 70s style. And I just think this is one that's going to blow me away. So Maxine, number 3. So excited for it.
Great pick.
So my number 3, as I mentioned earlier, Brady, when you had brought up a werewolf film, and I said that I would be bringing up a werewolf film, this is that werewolf film, man. My number 3 pick of my most anticipated horror films of 2024 is Year 2, which is directed by Stephen C. Miller, and it stars Frank Grillo. And the plot is 2 scientists try to stop a mutation that turns people into werewolves after being touched by a super moon the year before. So, okay, Frank Grillo, werewolf movie, Stephen C. Miller. So,
bro, dude, Lou Diamond Phillips too? Are you fucking kidding me?
It's insane. And I'm a huge fan of Stephen C. Miller. He directed and came out the gate with Automaton Transfusion, which is one of the most batshit crazy zombie movies ever. And he did this when I think he was straight up out of high school, super young, in his hometown. And the movie is still incredible. I love it. He has the aggression scale which if you remember Becky that came out a couple years ago, realistically the aggression scale was first and kind of did it first, and in my opinion did it better. And he did the remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night with Silent Night, that came out in 2012. So I'm a huge Stephen C. Miller fan. He's gone on to direct like amazing action movies with Sylvester Stallone and all types of A-list actors. And he's an incredibly talented dude, and I'm beyond ecstatic and thankful that he's going back to the horror genre, the genre that he started out in, because the genre needs Stephen C. Miller. So I'm really, really pumped for this movie. And man, I feel like werewolf movies are like, it's a super complex, difficult subgenre to tackle. And I just feel like he's the one that's up for the assignment. And I think that year 2 is going to be a home run, not only for horror, not only for Stephen C. Miller, but for the werewolf subgenre.
Jeremy, I just looked up some information on this, and the photo of the practical werewolf looks fucking awesome. Apparently it's like The Purge with werewolves, which sounds absolutely batshit crazy, which I'm totally in for. But man, that practical werewolf is like exactly my kind of werewolf, like straight up dog shoulders. So I'm super pumped.
Yeah, man, great. I'm really excited.
Shit.
Awesome pick, man. My number 3, I mean, this would be silly for me not to include this. I decided to include horror-adjacent stuff, so, like, horror comedy. But, dude, I was on the set twice last year. I had to put on Tim Burton's Beetlejuice fucking 2, which comes out September 6th of this year. We know that the original Beetlejuice isn't really considered all that scary of a movie, even though it is a horror comedy. But I will tell you this much. It was the first movie at the age of 6 that absolutely scared the shit out of me. The beetle snake on the railing, dude, I remember very vividly begging my parents to turn it off, and I had nightmares of that shit for, 6 months or something.
Dude, those sandworms, too, man.
So,
don't sleep on them sandworms, bro.
Yeah, sandworms, everything. I mean, being on the set of this movie, if you're interested in my stories about that, we've got some Patreon specials that are exclusive to that. But, we don't know that much about the movie that I want to reveal. I know a little bit. I know a little bit too much. We know that Jenna Ortega plays Astrid, which plays the daughter in the movie. And, she doesn't like her mom's radio show, and Beetlejuice gets involved. There's, I'm sputtering here because I don't want to say anything or spoil anything for anyone, because there were script leaks and I know a little bit too much. But yes, Lydia's daughter, there's some weddings, Beetlejuice gets involved. Technically, he's not the villain, I've been told, and that there's another central villain to the story. So I just can't wait to see Michael Keaton back under the makeup. We have yet to see an officially released photo, not talking about that one that I got banned from social media for posting, but had to include that shit. I mean, I know it's on a lot of people's most anticipated list, so I had to include it. Tim Burton's my man. Got to meet him on the set and shit. Story for another time, though. So, number 3, Beetlejuice 2.
That was also separate from the time that you got banned for saying that you were going to spank me. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that was great. It wasn't even you said you were going to spank me. You posted a GIF of Foghorn Leghorn spanking somebody else, and then Facebook said, absolutely not. You're out of here.
I mean, dude, why is the GIF on there if they don't want it to be used? Come on.
That's very true.
You probably did deserve a spanking. I don't know. Were you being naughty that day?
Probably. I knew what was happening. It's called entrapment. You got. So my number 2. Wow, we're getting down to it. Has also already been talked about, but it is Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. Again, can't say much about it that Justin. Can't say more than Justin already did, but it's this, listed as a gothic tale of obsession between a haunted young woman and the terrifying vampire infatuated with her, causing untold horror in its wake. I will go out on a limb here and say, Eggers, The Witch, Vitch, was not very scary to me, but it was unsettling. And that's how I always describe most of his films. It's like, I don't think that they're overtly scary, but I do have this immense feeling of just being unsettled and uncomfortable. And they're just so goddamn beautiful, too. Like, the cinematography, the imagery, the score, it's all like firing on all cylinders. And so even though we haven't gotten anything really descriptive from this film yet, all of that is working in his favor and like just getting me excited for it. Like, there's no way this movie cannot be beautiful. There's no way it cannot be a tale told with his expert craftsmanship, right? And the cast is just absolutely stacked. I mean, at this point, I don't think anything that has Willem Dafoe in it is going to be a bad movie. Like,
honestly, the track record recently. I mean, everything he's been in.
He's in Beetlejuice too, as well.
We haven't talked about it on the show, but yeah, he is. I mean, he was in Poor Things, and he was fantastic in that. And you and I both enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So it's I mean, also, dude, Bill fucking Skarsgård. I mean, the guy really deserves the biggest and best roles. I mean, last year in John Wick Chapter 4. Which was in my top 5 movies of the entire year. He played a fucking badass villain in that movie. I mean, he's just great in everything he does. And from what we've heard, Brady, I'm sure you read that he fully transformed himself in this role where he's like unrecognizable as a human, which I love to hear that.
Yeah, no, it's going to be great. And, when he really exploded on the scene as Pennywise, incredible. But then he was also in Hulu's Castle Rock in the first season, and that was so good. And he's just, anything he touches, he's just great. Barbarian, I'm really excited to see this full transformation on screen, because based on the snippets and little sound bites we've gotten, it sounds like it's incredible. So number 2, Nosferatu. I'm really fucking pissed we gotta wait almost a year for it, but it is what it is.
Hopefully worth the wait.
Hell yeah. So my number 2 is Beetlejuice 2.
Yeah, baby.
Like you, Justin, I saw this movie super, super young, and it definitely had the scary factor, but Beetlejuice was funny enough that, I was along for the ride, and man, I can remember collecting the action figures and watching the cartoon show, which, we've talked about it a few times. It's really wild that in the 90s they were like, let's take really scary or violent or rated R adult movies and turn them into cartoons. And
RoboCop,
dude, Rambo, like,
there was they made everything into cartoons. Bill and Ted, Back to the Future. I mean, literally everything had a fucking cartoon.
Bill and Ted had a cartoon.
Oh yeah,
yes they did. Yeah. They had a cereal too.
Yeah, they had an action figure line from the cartoon and everything, man. So yeah, like I've loved Beetlejuice my entire life. So I have been along for the ride of Beetlejuice too, because I've always been a movie fanatic. So even when I was in 9th grade, and up, or middle school and up, I was going on upcominghorrormovies.com and following, movie websites like that. And anytime somebody in an interview talked about, Beetlejuice 2 or even Ghostbusters 3, right? Like, that were in production development hell for so long.
The old days.
Dude, I remember going on the ride for Ghostbusters 3 where it's happening. It's called Ghostbusters Go to Hell. And it's where a portal opens up and hell is unleashed on Earth. And I'm like, fuck yes, this is going to be amazing. And then, you don't hear anything for fucking 5 months.
Or in the case of Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice goes
Hawaiian, bro.
That was an actual thing.
I listened to an entire podcast on Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. I'm sure you guys are familiar with the Best Movies Never Made podcast.
Yeah.
Dude, it's fucking, that podcast is so great. And they did a whole episode on Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian, and I'm like, dude, no fucking wonder this movie didn't get made. It would have been the nail in Beetlejuice's coffin forever. So I'm glad we did not get Beetlejuice 2 back then, and I'm glad that they took their time and it was on their terms for when they wanted to come back and do it. And I'm glad that they came up with a story that everyone felt so passionately about, that it got everyone to sign back on, man, because that's also like a tricky thing.
Yeah, well, everyone but, Alec and Gina. But honestly, we already talked about that. They don't need to be in
No.
the movie. I don't find it necessary.
No,
for them to be in
not
the movie.
not at all. So I'm really looking forward to, Michael Keaton has a very specific acting style, and I feel like Michael Keaton is so fantastic in so many things, but I also feel like when I watch a movie with Michael Keaton, I'm watching Michael Keaton. But one of the only times that I've ever watched a movie and he has been completely unrecognizable is Beetlejuice. He is Beetlejuice. Like, that is a character that I don't foresee. I think if they ever recast Beetlejuice, it would be a cheap imitation. Because Michael Keaton, much like how Michael Keaton is Batman, Michael Keaton is Beetlejuice. Completely unrecognizable, and his performance in that movie is still one of my favorite performances in any fucking movie. He's amazing as Beetlejuice, so I cannot wait to see him back in the role, man. So that was my number 2.
Nice.
And my number 2 is the return of the Mega Slasher, October 25th. Damien Leone's Terrifier 3. This is the third entry in Damien's popular film series, starring David Howard Thornton as Art the Clown. Apparently, he's set to unleash chaos on unsuspecting residents of Miles County as they peacefully drift off to sleep on Christmas. Give me more Christmas horror. I don't care. I feel like the past couple years, we've gotten more and more of it, and I'm all about it. Give me more Halloween horror. Give me more fucking Eastern horror. I don't even care. Like, give me Valentine's Day horror. It's awesome to have holiday horror movies, and I think setting Terrifier 3 at Christmas is absolutely the perfect choice. We already saw the teaser. We already saw the teaser photos. Looks fucking fantastic so far, and I have no doubt that Leone's going to really bring it this time. I mean, we already talked about it, I think, a couple episodes ago, that he was offered massive fucking money to do this with a larger studio. And we know what that would have done. I mean, it would have got neutered. It wouldn't be a real Terrifier movie. So he's sticking with the independent route and making it his way, and bravo to fucking him for doing that, because we all know that most any other filmmaker would be like, you know what, I want the money, and I want that to lead into bigger projects. But he's sticking to his guns. He's got gusto, man. He's got fucking balls, and he's making his movie his way. So I just cannot wait. I mean, Terrifier 2 is one of the best slashers ever made, and I've said that. I know people are like, that's hyperbole. I'm like, not really, dude. Literally watch the fucking movie. It's insane. And I just want more insanity. I want more gruesome, gory goodness. I'm all about it. So for me, come October, we'll be there for Terrifier 3.
Fuck yeah.
We are down to the number 1 slot, Brady.
Ooh, this is exciting. Spoiler alert, it's not Terrifier 3. My number 1 is probably gonna get some flack. I anticipate it, but it is Lee Whannell's next movie. It's Wolfman, and
Number 1
is Wolfman. I know it's going through development hell right now. But look, Lon Chaney's Wolfman from 1941 is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Universal monster film. I think it's probably a near perfect film. And when it comes to vampires, werewolves, I typically side with werewolf movies. That being said, I'm also painfully aware of how many bad werewolf movies there are out there. So I'm beyond stoked that Lee Whannell is back with this film, because he was gone from it for a while and is now attached to it again. And while it does suck major ass that Ryan Gosling is no longer playing the lead,
boo,
I'm actually really fucking excited to see what Christopher Abbott can do. I think he's done some really good roles in The Sinner, Sanctuary from last year, Poor Things from last year, Possessor, Catch-22 that was on Hulu. He's due for a breakout role. I think he's like right there at the surface where this is going to be the thing that can really propel him and like show that he has the stuff.
I mean, not to cut you off or anything, but you and I had this discussion because you knew how pissed I was when I saw Gosling. It makes sense post Barbie. I don't think he left because it was to do with money or anything, but we know Blumhouse is known for smaller budget fare. They're not going to pay someone like Ryan Gosling what his normal fee would be to do a Wolfman movie.
Right.
super excited that Winnell's back though. So that's like the biggest thing to me. And you and I saw Poor Things after that. We saw it during the Christmas break, and I thought Abbott was solid in that movie. I thought his character was somewhat unnecessary, but I thought he was really good in the role, and I could definitely see him in a transformation type role. So, you were right. I was wrong. I'm admitting that on the air.
Oh my God! What?
I think he'll be a good enough. I think he'll be a good enough substitute, and it would make sense if you're going to go from Gosling to another actor that you don't try to fill the shoes with another bigger name. I think it makes sense to grab someone that's up and coming, that shows a lot of promise in their performances, that can really, portray Larry Talbot with some pathos and some depth. And I think just seeing his eyes in Poor Things, because he plays a pretty threatening kind of guy, that connected with me, and I said, okay, this guy can definitely play Larry Talbot. And his name better be fucking Larry Talbot, too.
Right.
And his dad better fucking live in a mansion
He better.
out in the country and shit.
I don't know, because the synopsis is still vague, but it says it's about a man whose family is being terrorized by a lethal predator. So, we all saw 2020's The Invisible Man. I'm pretty sure we all fucking loved it.
Yep.
But that's such
masterpiece,
an incredible reimagining of source material, and it makes me very hopeful and excited to see what Winnell is going to do with this one. But yeah, definitely, I'm going to stand Christopher Abbott for this and say that he is not a downgrade at all, but possibly a better choice for this specific movie and this role than Ryan Gosling would be. Ryan Gosling is also still attached to the film, I think, as an executive producer, so he's still there. But yeah, so that's my number one, Wolfman. And I think that's
good
got
pick,
October 25th release date as well, from what I was seeing.
Yeah, I'll be
That's correct.
there for
October 25th. Yep.
for that. Invisible Man blew me away when that came out. Like, quite literally made my jaw drop and go so many times during that movie that I'm like, man, like, he just really went for it, and I dug that movie so much. So yeah, it's definitely a great pick. I'm looking forward to that one quite a bit. My number one, however, is Alien Romulus.
Ooh.
Guys,
number one.
I keep talking about movies that I grew up on. I grew up on the Alien movies. I'm staring at a glass display case that's filled with the 1990s Kenner Aliens action figures. I've got some of the newer Aliens action figures in it as well. I love the Alien movies, man. They made two really fucking great Alien movies, and I've always hoped that another film would come out and reclaim the glory of what made Alien and Aliens so fantastic. I have found
very well put.
I have found some of the other sequels after Aliens to be highly entertaining, just like the later Terminator films. I think that they're very entertaining, but to me, Terminator is always Terminator and T2. Aliens is always Alien and Aliens. Everything else is just a fun bonus thing that I don't really personally consider to be canon. That's just how I treat them. So I've always been hopeful that, you know what, I want another really, really good one. And Fede Alvarez, man, he did an impossible feat in 2013 by making an Evil Dead movie that was not a carbon copy of its original, that he branched out and he did his own thing while respecting what made Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness great. And it was unbelievable. I saw it in theaters multiple times, and when it got announced that they were doing a quote-unquote remake of Evil Dead, I was like, man, I don't want this. And that's not really what we got. It really wasn't a remake. It was just a really fantastic companion piece to the movies that came before it, and I really hope that that's what happens with this new Alien movie. The fact that it takes place between Alien and Aliens, he's fucking smart. This is not a remake. It's not a reboot. It's not a weird, thing. It takes place right smack dab in the middle, and the plot is young people from a distant world must face the most terrifying life form in the universe. It's a young cast, and dude, so when I was at Monsterpalooza in June in LA, I was walking around and dude, I have never met Alec Gillis before. You know, he's worked on so many things from Monster Squad to Pumpkinhead to the Alien vs Predators. You know, him and Tom Woodruff Jr. They worked on Aliens, different things like that. I've never met him. I've always wanted to meet him. And the great thing about Monsterpalooza is like, dude, it's in LA, so you never know who's gonna show up and just fucking walk around, dude. I'm walking around the vendor room and I look up and I see Alec Gillis just walking around, and I was like, oh, holy shit. So I was like, excuse me, Mr. Gillis, and he turned around and I was like, I am trying so hard not to geek out on you right now, but I'm like a massive fan. And he was like, oh, brother, I need an ego boost, man. Give it to me. Give me all of it. Tell me how much you love me.
You made his day.
He goes, tell me how much you love me. I need that ego boost, man. Make me feel good. He's super, super fucking funny, man. And, I said, so you're working on the new Alien movie? He goes, let me tell you something. It's everything you want. He goes, trust me, believe me. He said, the sets that they made or that they made, he said, everything looks so good, like it is straight up out of Alien and Aliens. He said, all of the practical effects are there. He said, it honestly felt like I was back on the set of Aliens. He said, this movie is going to be everything that you want. And I fucking believe him, dude. That's why it's my number one. It was always going to be in my top 5, but Alec Gillis, I believe you, sir, and I'm so excited for this movie, and I cannot wait to see what Fede Alvarez does with it. So Alien Romulus is my number 1. Let's go.
I mean, dude, that right there is the absolute best thing you could hear from anyone regarding a movie, is someone that worked on the previous movies, that worked on the new one, that's like in your ear, like, it's everything you want.
Yeah.
Seriously, it doesn't get any better than that, man.
It's like John Carpenter talking about Halloween Kills, yeah.
Oh, God.
Listen. There's a huge difference here, okay? Listen, we all know what John likes to do. Hold his hand out.
And a check
Smoke
appears.
Some weed, play some Call of Duty.
And a check appears in his
We love
palm.
you, John.
Yep.
But my number 1, it's already been mentioned by both of you. Had to put it at my number 1 because of how much I love Pearl and X. They're both 2 of my favorite movies of the last couple of years. But Maxine, you guys already said everything there is to be said. I always predicted, prior to the comparisons to Argento and Giallo's, that it would be kind of like a sleazy De Palma. And that falls in line with that because, De Palma's entries in the early 80s are very Giallo-inspired. People say they're thriller slashers. Well, that's what a Giallo is. Mm-hmm. He just made them Americanized. So, super fucking excited for it. Again, Mia Goth, horror icon, back again to play the characters of, to play Pearl again. And who can't be excited for this movie? I mean, everyone's talking about the last 2, so it's got to be my number 1 on the list here. But we're wrapping it up here. Our top 5 most anticipated.
I got a vasectomy. I ain't wrapping up shit.
Listen, you. No comment. I was gonna say something, but never mind. Not going to start off the year in that way on the show. Maybe later in the year. Who knows? Maybe I'll get a little bit frisky. But I know, Brady, you had some honorable mentions. I know I have some honorable mentions. Jeremy, do you have any honorable mentions?
Absolutely not. Anytime you guys are like, what's your honorable mentions? I'm like, I focus on the assignment at hand, and I don't go beyond it. Okay? So, no, I don't. Yeah. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking forward to...
You lazy bastard.
I'm looking forward to Terrifier 3. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's movies like that I'm like, yes, they crossed my mind for my top 5, but I picked my top 5. That's what we did. Y'all deal with that.
All right. Brady.
So on there is A Quiet Place Day 1, which is going to be the new offshoot for The Quiet Place. Also Trap, which is the Shyamalan movie that really doesn't have a lot of details about it yet, but it's got Josh Hartnett, and I love Josh Hartnett, and I've been really excited that he has had a resurgence. If anybody has watched the latest season of Black Mirror, he has an episode on there. That episode is fucking crazy and fantastic.
Honestly, that episode is like one of the best things that I watched last year, if not the best thing.
Yeah, he has not lost a step. So I'm excited to see. I'm glad he got a role in Oppenheimer, but definitely
He was
excited to
brilliant
see
in
him.
that too.
And I think the premise of this one is it's taking place at a concert where chaos ensues. Everybody becomes trapped there, and it's a father and his young daughter. Longlegs, which is a Nick Cage movie where he plays a serial killer, and Micah Monroe plays the FBI agent investigating him.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, I think that one comes out in, I want to say October or November of this coming year as well. Still tentative. Speak No Evil remake with James McAvoy. And have either of you seen the original Speak No Evil? I think it's a Danish film. Yeah,
yeah.
so,
I heard this was an American remake that was coming out,
and I'm excited.
Is that the movie
that
just came out? The Speak No Evil that just came out, like not that long ago? Or when did that movie come out?
Maybe a couple years ago.
Yeah.
2022.
Yeah, dude, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, everyone talked about it.
Yeah.
It was like, everyone talked about it. It was like a
Danish film, I think.
Huge subject in the horror community, which I guess it's cool that you're excited about it. It's kind of a shame they're already remaking it, but that's what Hollywood does.
I stayed away from that one because if I'm not mistaken, there's like some kids in it that are getting abused or some shit like that, if I'm not mistaken, and someone was like, yeah, you might want to skip this one. It's tough for parents to watch this. I don't know.
It's definitely a tough film to watch. Very shocking. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with this. And then the last one is The Watchers, which is by is it Ashana Shyamalan? And
it's okay if you say it incorrectly because we mispronounce names all the fucking time on the show.
But it follows Mina, a 28-year-old artist, as she gets stranded in an extensive, immaculate forest in Western Ireland. And after finding shelter, she becomes trapped alongside 3 strangers stalked by mysterious creatures each night.
Ooh, like that.
So those are ones I'm looking forward to.
Awesome. My number 6 would have been Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, which comes out in March 29th. Trailer looks like a lot of fun. Looks like a blast. Can't wait to see some new ghosts and the return of Slimer. Number 7, April 5th, The First Omen, which, holy shit, that trailer was fucking amazing, guys. Like, legit looked like just as classy and amazing as the original Omen. And yes, Brady, it is a fucking prequel. So, yes.
We'll see. I thought it looked kind
of
It
cool. is! It's specifically a prequel. My number 8 would have been the untitled Universal monster thriller from Radio Silence starring Melissa Barrera, which apparently a group of criminals bite off more than they can chew when they kidnap a young girl. Don't know anything else more about it than that, but hey, it's a Universal monster thriller, and it stars Melissa Barrera. I'm fucking there. That's April 19th. Number 9 would have been A Quiet Place Day 1. And, of course, Krasinski's not back in the director's chair with this one. But Michael Sarnowski, who did Pig, which was one of my favorite movies of 2021, starring Nicolas Cage. Absolute brilliant film. So I'm pumped to see his take on the Quiet Place world. And number 10, just for you, B. Ratty, I had to put it on there just to prove you right and that I was fucking wrong about Christopher Abbott, Lee Winnell's The Wolfman. And also, right alongside with you, I just screened it at Alamo this last season. The original Wolfman is absolutely my favorite Universal monster movie and one of my favorite movies of all time. I love the fucking Wolfman. Love me some werewolf shit, too. So those are the lists, ladies and gentlemen, for our top most anticipated horror movies of 2024. If you see this posted on social media, let us know what you're anticipating the most and if our lists line up with yours. Thanks for listening to this episode, our first episode of the year. We're super excited to bring you guys amazing content for 2024. This year marks 10 years of Epic Film Guys in existence, coming this May. So we're going to have a lot of special shit for you. Total Patreon revamp coming extremely soon. New merchandise, all kinds of cool shit. So we're all super excited. So thanks again for listening. We love you. If it's your first time listening to the show, please be awesome. More awesome than we already know you are. Head on over to iTunes or Spotify and leave us a review. It only takes a minute. And also, we're on social media, literally everywhere at Epic Film Guys. So you can check us out. But as always, I'm Justin.
I'm Jeremy.
I'm B. Ratty.
And as always, we like to ask you to keep it creepy.